Hello, and welcome to episode 6 of Rhythm and Wit, the podcast and video series where we discuss and explore the creative and artistic expressions of artists and performers in Oklahoma City and its neighboring cities, also known as the Greater Metro Area. My name is David Steele. I am a bass player, a music producer, a graphic designer, a photographer, and a film hobbyist. My co-host is Liz Campbell. Nick is a stand-up comedian, singer, songwriter, guitar player, electrical contractor, a husband, a father, and my best friend for over 20 years. Today's episode is a very special episode, as it is our first guest interview. Today's guest is Liz Campbell. Liz is a creativity influencer, an artist, an event planner, a mommy and wifey, and a community leader. She is also the creator of Thinkable in Life, a community art project where art is for everyone. We talked to Liz today about why she created Thinkable in Life. We talk about sensory perception when creating art, and we talk about expressing yourself through your appearance. We also discuss why community is so important, as well as some of the challenges we face as creators in today's digital world. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and podcast feeds to keep up with new episodes that drop every Friday. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, as we greatly appreciate your time and attention. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Rhythm and Wit. My name is David Steele, and with me is...
I'm Liz Campbell.
Today is a special episode of the podcast, because today we have our first guest. Welcome, Liz Campbell.
Yay! My wife.
Welcome to me.
Liz, you are, what would you...
I'm a creativity influencer.
Right.
Okay.
I'm trying to pinpoint the exact, or not exact, but what would you say if somebody asked what you did as a creative artist? One word that came up was artisan, like someone who creates crafts. But it could be more of like a bootmaker too.
Yeah, when I think of artisan,
a little bit, yeah, it's a little bit
more
different.
of someone who has developed a specific interest and has like a niche.
And yeah, you don't stick to one.
I do not stick to anything. I do something different every single day. I think if I had to label myself, creativity influencer would be my label. I like to make things, and I like to inspire other people to explore their own creativity and make their own things.
Perfect.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
that's a good
That's what I do.
And
I thought it was just a bunch of stuff in our house, but it has a purpose.
It is a lot of stuff. There's a lot of
there's
stuff.
a reason for this?
There's so
No.
much stuff.
Yes.
But it's awesome.
I own
It's awesome.
everything.
Yeah.
Great. You are a creator of Thinkable in Life, a community art project. Art is for everyone. What can you tell us more about Thinkable in Life? What inspired you to start this organization or community account?
Yeah, so Thinkable in Life started as an idea to create an art club for grown-ups. The thought process came along with, well, when you were 12 and 13 and you were at summer camp, what kind of activities did you enjoy doing? You got to sit with your friends and make bracelets or paint pictures or do these activities. And you were able to do all of those things because you went to a place that had the supplies. I don't know if your parents were like my parents, but they were like, oh, we only buy things sometimes, which is why I buy all of the things all of the time now. And so the idea was to give people a place to come play, essentially like we did when we were younger. You can meet completely new friends. It's a community event, so just like when you go to summer camp, you don't know anyone when you first get there, but you know everyone by the end. And so the thought was, I really enjoyed that when I was younger, and I would benefit from that still as an adult, and it didn't exist in a way that was functional for me to get to, so I made it.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's something we talk about a lot. I think that in the city, there's a lot of opportunity, but there's not enough, and sometimes you have to create what you want to see if it doesn't exist.
Yeah, I find creativity to be so incredibly foundational to living, because creativity isn't just making art, it's also solving problems. It's also raising kids, and it's cleaning your house in a way that makes it better for you. And creativity is as simple as matching your outfit the way that you want to do that, and how you present yourself in the world. And I think that having a place to play freely kind of frees up the space for other things.
Kind of it cultivates your creativity in a way that even if you go and just, play around, I mean, some people might think it's childish too. I mean, it is childish because it's what we did as children, but not in that way. I think of childish things.
Well, there's nothing wrong with being childish.
Yeah, we strive for that childhood. So many things in our childhood, still drive us for weird, sometimes stupid reasons. Like, I'll still go see every Ninja Turtle movie that comes out because I'm obsessed with it. But I think it's something from childhood that we look for as adults to kind of get that youth back in a way. So I think that's something
when you're a kid, you like things without other people's judgment influencing what you like. You like it because it brings you joy. And I still like all of those things. Yeah. Some of the things I like in a slightly more mature version, and some of the things I don't. I mean, I watch anime and I have stuffed animals and I have a Hello Kitty apron because why not? And all of that stuff brought me joy as a kid, and then in my teens it was embarrassing to like that stuff, and then now in my 30s I'm like, f it, I like that stuff.
That's something I've definitely come to in myself, like, see as like, you shouldn't be ashamed of these things that, like,
are you hurting anyone because you like the Ninja Turtles?
Yeah, I mean, it's like something that I would be, and I think that it's it's something that I had to deal with as growing up, that sometimes you would be made fun of for liking something. And you have to, and those kind of things stick with you strongly, and it's hard to overcome that, I think, for a lot of people.
It is very difficult, especially if you have parents that tell you to grow up.
Right.
And they eventually tell you, oh, you don't like those things anymore because you have to grow up and pass those stages. But it happens when you hit middle school. And we're seeing it with our middle kid right now, because she just started middle school. When you hit middle school, the girls get a little meaner. And the social structures get a little bit more segmented. That's when cliques really start happening, is in middle school. And that's when you start to either get embarrassed by the things that you like so that you can fit in with this group, or you just be the nerd.
Yeah, and then you put your head down and try not to get noticed.
So you just like stuff privately, and then you're completely antisocial at school.
Right.
And so that's kind of what I'm trying to get people to realize, is that just because you stopped liking it because you were embarrassed of it doesn't mean you still need to be embarrassed of those things.
Yeah, I think that's really good. I never knew that about the art club for adults. I mean, it makes sense. I think that's an interesting way to look at it. I mean, just because I've known you doing this stuff for a while, so I just, I think it's great, but I never looked at it like in that light in particular.
How long have you been doing it? How long is it now?
Yeah.
I started in November of last year.
With Thinkable in Life.
With Thinkable in Life.
Was that at...
That was at the Hangout.
The Hangout?
Yeah.
But, but before then, you didn't do events, though?
Before I did Thinkable in Life, I did Bitsy Blue Designs. And I made the art that I sold. And did those types of things and made connections that way. And then COVID, of course, hit, and all of my Comic-Cons were canceled. And then I realized that I really don't enjoy being a mass maker.
Right.
to make the same whale 4,000 times.
And
it's not fun for me.
That's kind of going back to that artesian thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's what those people that do that.
Yeah,
and some people love it, and that's great for them, but yeah.
I can't. I can't do the same thing.
So I definitely remember, and you get stressed out about having to make inventory every time for the shows.
It's really hard to make myself sit down and make something that's repetitive because I have every flavor of ADHD on the, and I can, but it's boring.
But yeah, it's not, it doesn't really fit with your natural way. I think, but a lot of people do get a lot. I think it's can be meditative for a lot of people to do that. I know my mom, for one, she's always, since I've been alive, she's sat and did all kinds of needlework and all that stuff.
Some people have that
I think it's
kind of
very
attention.
right. But for ADHD, absolutely, it's very different for.
Yeah, I cannot finish a project that takes more than an hour without literally fighting myself to finish it, and so I don't. I've realized over the years that I don't have to.
Right, yeah.
And I don't have to finish everything that I start. Because even if I start something and I really enjoy the 45 minutes that I spent on it, then I can tell myself that I'm done even if the final product isn't finished, because it was only for me in the first place. I got my joy out of it. I don't need to see it done. It's done in my brain.
Yeah, doing art for art's sake.
Yeah, I do art to play and to express creativity and to kind of, it's a feeling for me. The way I feel the paintbrush go on the paper and the textures, and I'm very sensory in that touch kind of way when it comes to art. Like, paint feels different than it does to watercolor versus oil pastels because they drag across the paper differently. And I like to change that kind of stuff up. The sounds are different, the colors are different, the way they bleed together is different, and that's why I use a different art medium every time I make something.
It sounds to me like you're trying to explore the way different mediums feel in a big way. I never really looked at it like that. That's very interesting. I definitely feel when I play music, I mean, I look at music like all music is a feeling. It's literally vibrations. It vibrates and you feel those vibrations. And so I definitely feel that's how I navigate music when I play, is always through a feeling of just, following it and seeing where it takes you. But I never thought about it so much as how painting feels versus drawing, how that feels. I don't know, it's something I'll definitely think more about.
I am very sensory focused, and when I'm in a hyperfixation state and I'm actually focused solely on what I'm doing, then my senses are all in tuned and paying attention. So it's my feeling and my hearing and my smelling and then my sight and then my imagination. So a hyperfixation, that's why when I'm hyperfixated, I don't notice what's going on around me, because when I am not in a hyper-focused state, everything around me, like this buzzing that's happening back here, it's very faint, but I hear it, Like, you don't have to turn, I'm just saying. Like, I just hear that stuff all of the time, so I'm constantly taking in all of the other sensory until I can fixate.
I think, that's great to hear. Sorry.
No, it's quiet now.
It threw me off.
I didn't even realize it was buzzing.
I didn't either. And then it's like, it's probably ruining my sound, so thank you. Because it wasn't serving a purpose. I just wanted to turn on the light.
Can you come over and just check?
Just hear all of
sound,
the...
I think
I can do that.
That's something
I hear them all.
I think, and I kind of pride myself, not pride, but I think that my ears are pretty good. I mean, I like to think with music and when I do producing and stuff like that, it's like I pay attention closely to sounds. I think that's one of my strongest senses. Have you ever, you may have heard of this, but I wanted to ask you, have you ever heard of synesthesia?
Being able to
see
colors and
Is that
sounds.
something you experience, or is that... Have you thought about that at all?
I watched someone on Instagram, and they were doing
explaining it
word.
or whatever.
Yeah,
I
they
think
were
it's,
making art from sound
Yeah.
or whatever, which it's very interesting.
I think it's a rare thing. I don't know that I've never met anybody that's had it. But
do you? So I see colors that don't exist in just like the world. So if I'm sitting and I'm not really focusing, then there's like I can see colors across the spectrum if I'm not like honed in on something. So everything kind of is rainbow tinted in like my whole life. And so I mean maybe that's something, but that's just my brain playing
but not in
pretend
particular.
and noticing the way the light flows and then the particles in the air because it's always paying attention to things.
Yeah.
And
it's
so
kind of,
I don't know that would be considered.
yeah, that's an interesting
but
topic.
Yeah.
Because I just like to, I'm interested in asking people about that because some people probably have no idea what it even is.
Because it's natural for them.
Yeah, it's just your experience of the world.
Yeah.
And Nick, I don't know, do you know what this is at all?
Synesthesia?
Yeah, it's
I've
kind of a phenomenon. The way I understand it is, it's kind of like where your brain is like two senses are crossed, where it's like if you, I mean, it could be any of the five.
So you
senses.
can see sound.
I mean, but and the way I kind of looked into it more and kind of the way I understand it is like, you could, hear. When you hear the note like A or something, it like it makes you like maybe you see blue or you feel like that, like those two are crossed, like the sound and the visual field is like
right. Purple haze.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's like,
So,
and but people that have it apparently can are very extraordinary in creating and because it's like you can tap into two things, especially with like memorization or like learning things. They can learn things way faster, just depending on, I don't know, but it's fascinating. But it's just something that I think our brains, sometimes our people's brains cross over for whatever.
Do you have like a real life example of like an artist or
not
something?
in particular. No,
No?
I don't know of any. I mean, sure there are, but I don't know. Something to think about.
It's all relative anyway.
I mean,
Because,
you don't really...
I mean, certain sounds create like physical
Yeah.
emotions in your body and then
I think what you were saying, it's like I think something of your senses is maybe a little bit different than most people. Maybe not exactly what
that is,
but I agree. I think that I definitely have feelings. Well, like in particular with music, I think I hear a song that I've never heard before, and I'm just drawn to it, and I'm like, oh my God, what is that? Like, and because a lot of times I just have music on in the background, and often I like to just play the Discover Weekly a playlist that Spotify kicks you every Monday. It's like on Monday morning, new playlist, all new stuff, It's like, let me see, and I go through that, and I pick out the ones that like just hit on whatever level. I don't know.
That's very interesting.
But it's something that hits me, and like I can't explain it really. It's just my taste. But I think that we all have that, and whatever we're drawn to. But with music in particular, it's something that's magical to me that I can't explain. I don't know.
Yeah, it kind of dings the bell when you hear it, or that feeling of like.
But it's a specific feeling. I don't get it with anything else, really.
Yeah, same way.
Yeah.
But yeah, you definitely seem like it's more visual, like more like because you love bright colors, you love,
Only a little.
I had a question too about that actually, because in last summer, right? It was over a year ago. You chopped your hair off.
I did.
You
in June of last year, I
started
just
dyeing it, never to be the same color again.
No.
It has never been the same color twice.
So what inspired that decision? Why make that drastic change in your life?
I've always wanted to, and I wasn't afraid to anymore.
You had just made that realization.
What made you afraid before?
People.
The judgment of people?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. People. The thing is I was afraid that people would look at me and not like what they saw, and then I realized that I don't care if they like what they see or not. I have to like it.
Right.
This is literally the way I have always wanted to look. I always thought girls with short, crazy hair were the coolest girls on the planet, and I like the aesthetic of tattoos. mostly wish I hadn't gotten any at this stage in my life, but I was 19 at the time. It's been a few years.
Now you're only 23.
Oh, yeah, totally. I'm 23. Plus a few years, 12 maybe.
She's
That's
young,
okay.
but we make it work. You know?
Yeah. Honestly, when I look in the mirror, I see all of the women that I thought looked cool when I was 15, 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But back then, especially when I was 15, 16, I had waist-length hair. I never cut it. My clothes, I wore mostly my brother's hand-me-downs, or I was in like a small
kind
emo
of a
phase.
Tomboyish.
Yeah, I was. I was I'm still pretty tomboyish when it,
Mm-hmm.
like I have two styles. Tomboy and this. It's pretty much.
Glamour.
Fabulous.
Glamour,
Glam,
yeah,
yeah.
fancy, and tomboy. That's it. There's.
You look like you'd be sassy. I feel like you'd be.
I'm not sassy.
Pretty chill.
I'm pretty soft. You can't even speak harsh to me or I'll cry.
Big old.
I have the word dangerous tattooed right here.
This to scare people off.
I'm so dangerous.
Before
I am docile. It should say domesticated. I'm very.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that about tattoos. I don't know. I mean, I don't have any tattoos. You don't have any tattoos.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that. Not that I have anything against it. I think it's great. It's a, it's a way that you express yourself through your body, which is a similar way of, changing the way you dress to be,
You can't
your
change
true.
these.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's very permanent, but it's still an
very
expression of
permanent.
self,
Yeah, but
which is interesting.
they
to
had
me.
no meaning beyond. I thought
They're
looked
cool.
cool.
I mean,
at
at least
the
they're
time.
not like
Yeah,
anything.
they're still in. They're in really great
cool
shape.
art.
They still look good.
Yeah.
I didn't get any. I knew a friend who went and got an iris tattooed, and then they made it look like a vagina. Essentially, it was like, and that's just permanent on her body forever.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oof. It
Yeah,
had a
it's-
clitoris and everything.
It's like- just in case you forgot where it was.
Yeah,
That's what that
it
was.
was.
Yeah.
And she didn't know, she didn't think about it. She
Until it
just,
was too late.
yeah, until it was on there forever.
Yeah. They didn't say anything. She go back?
What's she gonna do?
I don't know. Did you
They
draw
can-
this?
Yeah, did you purpose? You know
Was
they
this
did.
intentional?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna what tattoo parlor it was, but for a long time they were known for hiding things in people's tattoos. So it was intentional.
Like a Where's Waldo?
Yeah, but it was like dicks and vaginas.
Oh, well then not like
Intentionally.
Where's Waldo at all.
It's not a fun way.
Yeah. Gross.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah. Man,
sidebar.
I was gonna do. I mean, I would have gotten a tattoo. There was like a time whenever I don't know if you remember, but I tried to go to Texas with $50 thinking I was gonna get a
Yeah,
tattoo.
it's like we couldn't get them
Yeah.
here.
So this
Yeah,
was
they
back
were
before
illegal
it was
back
here,
then.
but I had like I had my Weezer. I was gonna get Weezer, the W on my arm with a microphone underneath, and then I went down there. I didn't have enough money, and I came back, and then
That's
I was like, well, I'll get it someday. And then Weezer came out with that.
Bad
What's
hour.
the one after Maladroid? Was it the Pink album? Either way, I hated Weezer after that, and I was like, oh, okay, so.
Thank God.
Yeah, I think I didn't do
But
that.
I always thought about like something music related was like, for me anyways, it's like you can't, really regret that. Or I don't think I'll ever, certain things that are very meaningful like that, it's like, I think that they're pretty safe that you're going to be
Yeah, that
at
you'll
least
like
not
them
regret
forever.
them,
Yeah. I
like
don't
you
really.
I don't know. I was pretty averse after. I was like, man, that was real close.
Well, that
I
one-
dodged that
Yeah.
bullet.
But I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
music, not anything music related, but like, I'm
Like
thinking
your bass
like,
guitar or
yeah,
something.
something
Yeah.
with like that represents music more so.
Yeah.
Not a
No,
specific
no.
entity.
Not like a band or anything, but I don't know. No, that's not a. I don't think. I'm not trying to advertise for you.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of messed up. I think when you go that far.
I don't know. People get.
I mean, if you
They
love
get 'em,
something
yeah.
and it really, really does. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I guess that's not really good.
It's just not for you.
But I think with certain, that's the way to look at it. But I mean, some stuff, it's like if you get like, if you just love video games and you love Super Mario and you get a that's something that you love since you were a
Forever.
baby. It's
Yeah.
like
That's-
that makes sense.
that's
It's
actually
like,
one I would
that's
get.
something you
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
touches you and defines you. Just define yourself through that. In
Yeah.
a way.
Yeah.
I don't define myself
Yeah.
through daggers or candlesticks or treasure chests full of boobies, because that's what it looks like. An anchor, no.
Yeah.
Baby, and these monsters.
You're my anchor.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, we gave that one meaning.
So I guess I have one question of staying on the topic of like, I guess, appearance and self-expression through appearance. What would you say to someone that was struggling to do what you did and like, step over that barrier of shame and be who they are?
I think the best advice I can give anyone anytime if they're trying to improve something or change something about themselves is to be nice to you. Because you are the person you hear the most often. And if you look in the mirror and you go, ew that, and ew that, and ew that, then that's the only thing you're going to think, because that's what you are telling yourself. And if I look in the mirror and I go, oh, that color of pink is really pretty, that it wasn't even a comment on myself. It was a comment on the color that I'm wearing. And it's still nicer than looking in the mirror and saying, oh, there's that thing and I don't really like it and that kind of stuff. And also, if you go into a situation and you're worried about what everybody else is thinking, then you speak nice to yourself and you say, I can't control what they're thinking. When I look in the mirror, I like what I see. I like myself. I like how kind I am. I like how this I am. And not everything is appearance. And if you start with the small things and you tell yourself things that you like about you as you progress, eventually you'll like more of you because you'll be looking for the good instead of the bad. And if you grew up around people who were incredibly judgmental or very harsh on you for your appearance, as a lot of, not really my mom, but a lot of moms are to daughters, and a lot of that was very traumatic for girls. So they would look in the mirror and go, ooh, there's this thing, or even little girls who watch their moms do that in the mirrors. They learn from that stuff too, you know? And even now, my mom will look in the mirror and just like make faces at herself and just tell herself that she's not attractive. And I grew up watching that. And so I grew up telling myself that I was also unattractive. And I have never once been unattractive because I have never been a mean person. And I think that's the unattractive way. That's the only thing that's unattractive, is people who are mean. And if you're not mean, then you're beautiful, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. But you treat yourself like a canvas.
I do.
You know?
Makeup is art. It's painting. It's fun. If I don't like it, I just whoosh and start over.
Yeah.
You know, and people ask me all the time about my hair because I do it myself. I cut it, I bleach it, I color it. They're like, what if you mess up? What if I mess up? I get to see what I look like with a buzz cut. Yeah. And then it grows. It's just hair. And so it's important to remember that you can redo stuff.
Nothing is permanent.
Nothing is permanent. You
know
that.
Well, even your tattoos. I mean,
Yeah.
You know. There are ways to get, you know,
I could cover them up. You don't have to.
That's
see
like the only
them.
You could literally just put on a shirt.
Or I could
cover
even
them
put
with
makeup
something
on.
Else. Yeah.
There
are ways.
If I really wanted to change the appearance of myself in that moment, there are always ways to do that. And so there's nothing that's completely permanent. I could get it laser removed if I ever wanted to.
That's what I was kind of alluding to.
The technology
you can do it.
So
it's not very. Like I've heard, it's way more painful getting them removed than they ever are going on.
I think
so.
It's
not very viable.
Much more painful now. It looks pretty.
I don't know.
Easy.
Maybe. Yeah. Who knows?
It's changed. I'm never gonna do it.
Well, I dig them.
My tattoos.
So yeah, I don't want you to.
I'm not gonna.
Could you not?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm not going to.
Yeah,
It's too much work.
I don't have the money, first off, but then
it's not cheap, I think, too.
It might be maybe a move.
Yeah, but other than that, I mean, almost anything is not permanent.
You know that Tom Hanks meme where he says, if I could go back and talk to myself as a kid, I would remind myself that this too shall pass. Good things pass, bad things pass, youth passes, old age passes. Everything we're in right now is only temporary. And I like to remember that as well, because it's a lot easier to be nice to myself when I'm like, this is only for now. This doesn't have to be forever.
This is just today.
Yeah, this is just today.
This is just this hour or whatever. That's definitely a good way to look at the world. I've been definitely trying to or learning to let things go in that way, and like
Well, you can't control everything.
Yeah, and even emotions and thoughts that come up, it's like you don't need to hold on to them. You just notice them, say thank you.
Take the lesson and move on.
Thank you.
Take
if
the
it's
lesson
something
and move on.
that's hurting you,
Yeah.
obviously. So, but it's a struggle regardless. So.
It gets easier the more you practice
Yeah,
it, just
I
like
think the
any
older
other
we
muscle.
get, I think that's why I hear a lot of. And I think a lot of us, right? We're all in our 30s. Like when you get in your 30s, you start to like just accept things a lot easier. I think, or it gets easier to accept the way you are, the way everything else is.
Well, it's because you realize it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, I think you don't have a choice.
But I think it's always
I
a
think there's
struggle.
a little bit of that
yeah.
going on. It's
Yeah.
like,
But
I better accept this, or I'm going to be living in turmoil for a while.
But I think I think, and obviously we only know up to our age, but I think as you get older, I think it all just gets easier. From a lot of things get easier.
I think you just realize that more and more of it is out of your control.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're younger, you think that you'll be able to control so much more than you actually can. Because I can't control other people's perception of me. If they want to look at the things that I'm doing, the way I am in the world, the way I'm raising my kids, and think their own thoughts, I can't control that. The only thing I can control is if I feel like I'm doing my best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and if they're judging you, that's really commentary on them.
Right.
I can't control what's going on in their brain or their own feelings or their own prejudice or experiences. I can't change that. I can live my life to the best of my ability and know that I'm doing my best. And so I don't even have to think about their opinion because it doesn't affect me. It can't, because I still have my own perceptions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the only ones that matter to you. I mean,
It's the only thing I can control.
Is our experience.
Yeah.
So you have to try to make it as good as you can for yourself. Like you were saying, don't, be nice to yourself.
Yeah.
Don't worry if somebody else thinks anything about you, because
Their opinion is not
if you're
your business.
if you're thinking that negative thought, it's only in your head anyways.
You're only hurting you.
That's one of the
You're only
things
hurting you.
that inspired me about. I mean, well, you've told me I'm really hard on myself. Like if I mess up or something goes wrong, and then I kind of like wear it for a little while. But it's that forgiveness and being kind of accepting yourself that Liz tells me every time. And I've gotten better at it just by her kind of pep talking.
But yeah, you've learned from watching her. I think that a lot of stuff, I mean, what I'm learning recently, and one of the reasons why I'm even doing, this show is because I'm trying to show people, you have to show people, like you learn from watching her. Other people that are watching this will hopefully learn something from the same lessons you take away. It's like we all have these lessons to teach each other if we just pay attention and like, communicate and I think just don't let go of fear and all this stuff is hard, but if you can see other people do it, then it gets easier for you.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So let's see. I wanted to go back to your mission with Thinkable in Life, and it's spreading art. And what was it again? Community art project, art is for everyone. Why is it important that you spread this message?
There's a lot of research on creativity and self-wellness.
Mm-hmm.
So there are lots of books about how creativity can improve your mental state.
Mm-hmm.
And it can improve you through happiness and joy, but it can also improve through focus and intention. And the biggest lesson that I learned through art is that a failure isn't a failure because I still learned something. I still got an experience.
Mm-hmm.
And that lesson carries through to every part of my life. So if this art piece didn't turn out exactly the way I wanted it to, that's okay, because I still got to feel the art. I still got to practice the art. I still got my emotions while I was making the art, and I still challenged my brain to create this thing that it wouldn't have created if I hadn't sat down to do it. And also, I have ADHD, right? We've talked about this. It's a real thing. It's fun. And if I want to focus on something that may not necessarily be the most exciting thing for me, like work or phone calls, I hate phone calls.
Or like dishes or
They're distracting.
laundry.
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
that kind of
chores.
like if I'm sitting in a spot, or even when I was in college and in high school and stuff, if there was a lecture going on and I needed to have attention, then I would doodle.
Well,
I would have to have
attention.
Yeah, because it's a feeling while I'm also listening, and so it
kind
also
of anchors
helps
your attention in this.
It does.
From scattering.
It does. And coloring is therapeutic. People who have anxiety can find like just a short breather by putting their intention on something that is easy and colorful and almost thoughtless. Because at my art events I have the coloring sheets, and so there's pre-drawn lines, and the only thing you're doing is coloring them in. And then you're just choosing the colors, which some people get really anxious about that.
Really?
They do. People
That's
get really anxious about that,
But
and they get really upset if they draw outside the lines. And I'm over here just like, okay, we'll just color that one in, and if you don't like it, here's some more. You know, make as many as you want.
I think that those people, I mean, that's interesting that I like that, because I know this, I've been to one of your events, and I've seen the things that you put together for them. I think that's really good for anyone to come up and just do something creative, because
everyone can do it.
Even the colors that you choose, that's your choice. You're using your emotions and logic or whatever it is to make a choice, and you're expressing like, I like this color over this color. I mean, that's a form of self-expression, but I think that some people have anxiety about expressing themselves in any way, and so those are the people that need to come do this stuff more.
Express themselves correctly.
Perfectly.
They want to be correct. They want to follow the rules. You know, and I'm a blue horse person, so I don't know, it was in a book, but they were talking about how in elementary school, at some point, your teacher starts to tell you that horses aren't blue. And so they expect you to make a horse color. They expect you to live in reality. And that transition happens around 2nd and 3rd grade. So you get to be creative and fun, and you get to just color outside the lines and be wild. And then when you hit this grade, you have to do it how it exists in reality. And I've always been a blue horse person. I've never wanted to color something exactly the way it was supposed to in the real world. And that's because, like we were talking earlier about seeing colors, I just see the world differently. I look for different colors, I see different things, and then, you know, the world has like a kind of colorful haze to me, and so I represent that in the art that I make and the color choices. But you'll find some people that they have to do it exactly the way you would find it in the real world.
And that's, you know, and I think that is something to say, that says something about that person. I mean, maybe they're very, like, they like to be very logical and just their life, you know, and that's okay.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being based in reality, so long as you're not beating yourself up if it's not exactly right. Some people draw photorealistic drawings,
and
which I can't.
And I think the drive to get to that point has to be that of, I mean, if you're drawing that photo, it's like you have to be obsessed with, I mean,
be obsessed with every
like
single
every detail,
tiny detail,
which I can see in with music. I mean, when I'm producing music, it's like I spend hours and hours working on a 3-minute song, you know. It's like,
to get
I mean,
it just
tens of hours even on some, you know, in the earlier stuff. I'm getting quicker. I don't take as long anymore, but I mean, I still will if I can.
You're into it, yeah.
'Cause I love it too. I love digging in and honing in on these little tiny details. I love detail in general. I think that's one of my things. I love like any texture of any kind, really, but like especially very detailed texture, I'm just like drawn to. And I think that it goes into a lot more than just the actual texture of, that's just kind of representation. But I love details in people, and I love details in like worlds. That's why I love like the Marvel MCU. I'm obsessed with that stuff because there's so many details in these films that span over, you know, and it's like there's nothing like it in media. And so and that's the stuff that I get drawn to, is like these little tiny things, like the coffee cup on Tony Stark's desk or some shit. It's like like nobody even cares. But that's a lot in film too, is like somebody thought of that. They put that, some Easter egg. It's like, oh, this is gonna be funny, and maybe not even anybody's, one person might notice it, or it's on screen for like 2 seconds, but somebody put their thought into it and put themselves into that product. That's why I love film. It's such a collaborative effort, and there's so many minds, inputting their creativity on every little detail in film. But because also, I guess, leading or continuing that a little bit, but you want to spread to the community for mental health. Creativity helps with mental health in many ways, like we've talked about, but it's the community and specifically, our community. What it is about the community that you want to include, or why is the community?
I wanted friends.
Yeah. It's like, I guess
I wanted to make friends, and I wanted to get out in the world. I've been a stay-at-home mom for a decade. A whole decade. And while I have friends, I don't have regular meetings and outings and those because they have busy lives as well. And so I wanted to kind of create a space where I'd make new friends, and I've made really cool friends through this, and I've got people who really see the dream and support what I'm doing and are very encouraging, and they love coming out to do art. And I have regulars. Like, I have people, and I know their names, and I know their kids' names, and they come out and they do these things, and I'll see them because I do events like West Village's Fourth Fridays, and I did Plaza Pride, and I just sit out and color with people. It's so crazy that I just color with people. It's so fun to me.
Yeah.
But I just pop up all over the place, and then someone will come by and they'll be like, "Hey, Liz," and I'll be like, "Hey, Jason, how are you? Haven't seen you in a cool minute," and it's fun to exist in the world in a way that I haven't in a long time. I mean, I have a 14-year-old, and so that means for about 14 years, I've been raising kids more than I've been building a community and a self. And so they're older now. It's easier to get out. And I'll avoid that whole fun emptiness thing that we're going to get into before long.
Yeah, that's definitely...
It was a fun way to make friends.
That's a good...
And I've made lots of really good friends.
That's definitely something that, I mean, because I agree. I mean, I've been getting out a ton more. I think after the pandemic, really, for years, I would just think to myself, when we were stuck at home and stuff like that, it's like, man, I wish I had friends too. It's like I had that thought. And of course, I have tons of really close friends, and we do, I was communicating, regularly with people throughout that time. But I think that probably a lot of people feel like that, and I think maybe that's why I feel like it's so easy for me now. It's like everybody wants to be out and into the community these days.
They lost it for so long.
Something people are looking for and searching for, and I am happy to provide that.
And we need people like you, and like I think lots of our friends like that put on the open mics and do all these community things. That we need those leaders to offer that and to share their space or share a space with other people. So one thought I had was like, art is more fun with other people. I mean, that's that's why I love music and playing. I wouldn't play music if I had to play alone. I would just stop because it's no fun for me by myself.
It's bonding. It's a communal creation, and it's like when you were a kid and you played pretend with your friends. You know, it's the same. We're doing the same kind of thing.
I did play pretend a lot by myself, though, as a child. But, like, but I think that there are certain things that I am perfectly fine doing by myself. But music isn't one of them in particular. But art in general is more fun. I think we talk about it all the time, sharing ideas and sharing, you can, even if you're doing the same art, or similar art pieces together, you can look at, like, oh, what are you doing? You could get ideas, but everybody's gonna do their own thing, but you can also learn from each other, which I think is very important and for community. My last question, what is the biggest challenge we face as creators in the city, and a kind of a follow-up maybe more so for the younger generations? What challenges do they have being creative within the city? What can we do? What have you seen?
Well, the challenge that most creators face these days is whether they're trying to use their creativity as a career or if they're trying to use it as a pastime. Because when you try to put money behind your passion, you often lose the passion because it becomes a career instead of joy. And then there's also the world that we live in these days is very social media centered. As an artist or as an event planner, I guess I would be considered an event planner more than an artist these days. As an event planner, I have to be the teacher of the class. I have to be the one who organizes all of this, but I also have to be my social media marketing. And that's not everyone's forte.
Yeah.
You're really good at it.
Well, I've learned by the same reason.
And you're a digital marketing and you have all that.
Yeah, but I mean, even that, it's like when we were started, over a decade ago playing music, it's like I didn't know anything about marketing. It's like I read books, I learned all that shit.
Yeah.
And like it wasn't necessarily through, I'm a graphic artist, yes, but marketing, I've never studied marketing besides on my own time for my creative endeavors, which I think that you have to do, unless you work for someone else.
If you want to be a business, you have to wear every hat until you get big enough to hire people to do those things, or you just have money.
Or you could team up. I mean, that's the thing, right? I think that one thing is, I was talking to this guy recently, but we had a good conversation, but and he clued me in on this idea of like, something that I've done is like when you learn all these, like I forced myself to learn how to do everything, and then I got good at a lot of that stuff, and it's like now I have to do it because I don't trust anyone else. And I didn't look for those people, and instead of looking for those people growing up to fill those roles, I just didn't. It's a lot of people probably find themselves in that position because it's hard to find people that are committed to your the same vision, I think. But that is, I think, a solution.
As a creator, personally, I find that stuff, marketing and all, it's very boring.
Right, you just, it's not
very
and
boring.
I do like it. I think it's, but I'd rather not have to do it.
Right. I like the reel.
Yeah.
Like, I like making reels because I find making those little videos and putting them right and finding the music and setting the filters. Hi friends, Liz here. I need volunteers. Okay, so this Saturday from 4 to 8, I'm hosting 23rd Street's Uptown Outside event. I find that stuff to be very creative, but I find writing the copy for it to be very boring.
Yeah.
And so I can make the videos all day long, but whatever I gotta put in that text box is
you just gotta find. I mean,
I just use ChatGPT.
Find somebody that loves writing copy, but they hate doing.
Do they exist? People who love writing
definitely.
copy?
I think there's people because
Send them my way.
I love editing, right? And I tell some people that if because you're saying about like I'm sure you guys know, and a lot of people that have to do social media videos, they hate editing because it's a nightmare and it takes forever. And it's hard to get right, but it's like I love it because I love the challenge. I love like the same way I love producing music. It's like I just get in there and just get lost. I forget about. I get into the flow state. I mean, that's the whole thing with graphic design for me. Has always been that. Like that's why I love my job and like so happy that I found what I do because it's just anytime I get to design anything, I can just lose hours of my life in a good way. Where you just feel refreshed and feel very accomplished. But yeah, same thing with editing. So there's definitely people out there that love the stuff that you would think nobody loves.
Yeah, but are they gonna do it for free?
No, but if you can team up,
that's really
if
it.
you
I
can
don't
team
make
up,
money,
if you
guys.
find somebody
ChatGPT is
that
pretty good though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
ChatGPT is fine.
you know, there are resources.
No one's reading it anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
I mean, they're gonna watch maybe 6 seconds of a 15-second video. That's the average watch time on my videos is about 6 to 8 seconds, and most of my videos that I post are between 12 and 15 seconds, and that's literally it. And I can't. People aren't even invested long enough to watch for 15 seconds.
Yeah.
So it feels pointless to put 4 hours
Right.
into something like that, and so I've made shortcuts.
Yeah,
I
for
take
sure.
3 pictures, and I take everything on live photo so they all wiggle, and then I pick a cool song. Unfortunately, the songs that I like are not the songs that the world likes, and so I just pick from whatever Instagram suggests, and so I don't even have to think about that.
Yeah.
And then that made all of that much easier for me. Plus, I just don't have any hang-ups about it because I know that it doesn't matter.
It doesn't really, you don't have to. And it's, I think
so long as I'm not rude.
And if you find the routes to that you do like you found some stuff that's not, maybe you don't want to do it too, but it's like you do find some joy in doing those, like you were saying.
I like
with those
making the
reels.
videos.
Yeah, so it's like,
And
but I think if you can find that, because there's lots of different things you
Yeah.
could do. I mean, you could do YouTube stuff, and like, I think for me, that's like, YouTube makes more sense because it is
form.
for longer stuff, and like, but I also I like doing that because I'll make a long form thing, and then you could chop it up into little sections if you want to, and it's much easier to break it down for me into those, because that's something I realized was, a few years ago about video and social media is like, ain't nobody watching more than 30 seconds of this stuff.
They
it's
really
like there's
aren't.
no point in,
Unless they're truly invested in you.
yeah, and some people are,
and some people are. But I mean, my videos get
Yeah.
watched between 100 and 300 times right now, and the
they're
average
quick.
watch time is between 3 and 6 seconds. So
Yeah.
they're seen, but no one took the time to read the post. No one even watched the post all the way through. And so it's just about showing up. But that's the biggest challenge if you're wanting to make it a career, is that to be found, everything is social media. It's not, you can't just sit in your room and paint and people come look for painters. There's not a culture for that anymore.
Yeah, I think and social media makes it hard because everybody has social media and everybody's fighting for attention, and
Well, and you're
so-
not just
only
fighting
so
the people
much.
in your area.
Yeah, the whole
You're
world.
the whole world. The
Yeah.
painting scene used to be whoever lived
Yeah.
in your neighborhood.
But
That's
I think
who you
that
were against.
that's something that I look at the internet these days, and yes, that is true.
It's a benefit, though.
It's good, but I think that we should start looking at it in the reverse and saying, okay, yes, the internet is at our fingertips, or the whole world is, but like that doesn't matter as much as the people that are in this room right now, like the people that. Or the people that
how are you
you're
gonna get
with,
people into the room?
But I'm just saying, like, but if you start with that, then okay, who's the next? The people on this block, the people in the city. That's what my point is. Like, the people in the vicinity, I think, are the people we should focus on. And I think that has the biggest impact for yourself, because I think that if you try to just shoot for a national stage, and whenever you're nobody even knows you in your own city, I mean, you have to but start there, right? And that's why I think that community is so important to focus on. And it's like, I don't even worry about the rest of the world. It's like, I'm trying to reach the people that I mostly know in person, hoping that this reaches. So but yeah, I mean, that's all we can do. And I think that if you focus on that and make that community strong, you can have a good life. I mean, that's all you need.
That's all you
need.
need. 100 true fans. That's all you need.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't need 100
to
people who are on your
be
team.
world famous.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think that would be icky
Yeah,
and
I would hate
invasive,
it.
personally.
What's that?
To be
Being
world
famous.
famous.
Like
Oh,
if you're
yeah.
like Brad Pitt or something.
You can't
level, it's
even
like-
go buy coffee without people
Yeah.
taking pictures of you. No, thank you. I like being Oklahoma City famous. I
Yeah,
go in a lot of
that'd be-
places and people are like, "Oh, you're that girl."
You're also
They
very.
don't always remember my name.
Yeah, but it's like,
I'm very memorable.
Yeah, it's like you stand out at these days, which is good. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's great because
There-
it does help you. You have to do that in some cases to be, for people to remember you. It's like if you do look different than everyone else, you're gonna stand out at least.
I am my brand.
Right? Yeah.
I am
You-
thinkable in life. It's
people
me.
know you immediately.
Yeah.
From that, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
And we're back. So we have some things going on this weekend that we want to talk about. I guess I'll just start off with this Friday, 6 p.m. At the Plaza District. We can check out Ghouls on the Plaza. Ready for Ghouls Night Out? The Plaza has a spooktacular Friday night planned for all of you ghouls. So go check that out.
Yeah, that sounds fun. Sounds good.
I love the Plaza, so if you have nothing to do Friday, go out there and see probably some art and things, whatever they've got going on. It'll be fun for Halloween. I guess so. That was Friday.
Okay.
And then you got something for Saturday.
Yeah, I've got a little show going on at Cross Cannons Brewery in Norman. It's going to be hosted. It's a little comedy show that JJ Wood puts on, our old friend from the band days. Hosted by Leo Mendes. Julie Drake is going to be on it. Marty Johnson, JJ Wood, and me. So I'm the novice of that whole little group. That's a fun one.
That's a good lineup. So where is that at again?
Cross Cannons Brewery. I've never been there before.
Is this here in the city?
It's in Norman.
Oh, Norman.
Yeah.
That's what I was curious about.
Yeah, it should be. I mean, I'm excited to go check it out. I love a new spot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of.
There's always like new venues for entertainment. Mm-hmm. So that'll be fun. And then Sunday, there's a cool thing going on. I'll just set it up. The first ever Oklahoma Mushroom Festival.
What?
At OKC Farmers Market. Starts at 11 a.m. to 8 p.m.
What kind of mushrooms are we talking about?
Psychedelic.
Is it really?
Yeah,
okay.
it's.
Do they just have them?
I'm
sure.
Sample.
Do they have them or?
I don't know. They have some information on growing mushrooms, and so there will be different vendors there who do those kinds of things and grow and talk about the stuff.
But there's probably not any.
There's.
It's being put on by Oklahoma Fungi.
Yeah.
And they are the primary resource for mushroom education and cultivation supplies in Oklahoma since 2020.
Whoa, nice.
So I guess all kinds of mushrooms. But you have some friends that are doing some things there.
Yeah, Elle of Cloven Hands, she'll be out there with her art. It is very detailed, spooky art. Black and white is her.
Is it like all mushroom themed art, or is that kind of the people they want people to do, or is it just general art? Do you know?
I think that they probably want you to do some shroomy themed,
There's
but for the
definitely-
most part, they're just going for an aesthetic.
Yeah.
And
The
Elle
whole
is
psychedelic.
that
yeah.
aesthetic. You know, she.
I noticed a lot of artists use mushrooms in their art, even
People like them.
Yeah, I think, but it's interesting in art in general. I mean, it makes sense, obviously, the when you are talking about the magic kind. I mean,
Yeah.
it definitely goes hand in hand with artists. But I mean, I'm sure that is why a lot of people use them. But I mean, I think it's something that's interesting that I just noticed that it's very popular in visual art.
Yeah, and then Valerie Job of Sacred Earth and Fire, she'll have her pottery out there.
Nice.
And then our favorite food vendor, Vicky of OKC Egg Rolls, will be at the Mushroom Festival, and she is at Lively with us a lot. She's pretty fantastic. So that's a pretty good way to spend a Sunday afternoon, I think.
That right there should be enough.
Yeah, that's
reason
enough.
to
Just
go.
go see my friends. I have some other cool people who are out there
tons
too.
of artists, and
Yeah.
it'll be it's a great place to meet people.
It's
too.
at the OKC Farmers Market, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
and that place is huge. And as far as I can tell, it's going to be very full of things to do. So
I would definitely be there. I'll be out of town, but I won't be able to make it this year. But so hopefully you guys can go check it out.
should be fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for watching. We still don't have a good outro. So.
No, but here it is.
All right.
Bye.
See ya.